Hello, I'd like to talk to you about metaphysiotherapy. That's actually a name that my husband came up with for me many years ago when I started to say, I have so many things that I've studied and so many different therapies that I use that I need to have a name because after all, if you sit there and say, I'm a hypnotherapist, I'm a reflexologist, I'm a aromatherapist, I do shiatsu, I do many other things have now come up in the years. What we're saying is, how do we put all this together and make it one title so that people understand and know that when they come to have a treatment where we are dealing with the whole person, there is a title for it. So, metaphysio, physical therapy. So let me explain what metaphysiotherapy is. First of all, I have to tell you that I have been researching it for over 30 years. And even better, I've been teaching it in Japan for the last 10 years. Now, to become a metaphysiotherapist means a lot of study because it involves a lot of understanding as well as a lot of practice. So, Metaphysiotherapy 1 is basically an introduction course. What you're going to learn is some of my crystal acupuncture and how to use it on the toes and the fingertips, and why it's important to use it, because we want to move the meridians around the body. We're also going to learn how to do reflexology, because we want to move the energy around the physical body so that we unblock memories that have been stored on a cellular, neuromuscular memory level. It's like saying you've marked your body about an accident or a trauma or simply an emotional falling in and falling out of love or being angry with someone. So all over your body somewhere you have blocks. And sometimes those blocks manifest as knots. And in more serious cases, we start to get illness and disease. The warning signs are emotional, mental, and physical upsets that affect your major chakras. Chakras are crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus in my abs, and base chakra down by my private parts, as well as running through the spleen chakra. Leaning back a bit, you can't see me really, I'm sorry. But the spleen chakra runs through the waistline from left to front, and you can learn all about this on my radio show. I spent a whole time talking about that and on my videos. So do research and look more about where your chakras actually are. And if you're really interested, you could read one of my books, Breakthrough Therapies, Crystal Acupuncture and Pterogram Therapy, and of course the Book of Diagrams by the same name, Crystal Acupuncture and Pterogram Therapy. So at least you can help yourself and you can learn to do this to yourself. I wear these all the time, and I'm sure you've seen many videos of me wearing these. These are actually my tools, which I use on myself because, yes, I do have PD, Parkinson's disease, but you wouldn't know it. I don't tremble, I don't shake, and that's because I've kept my 5 bodies in order and I've removed the blocks. So, yes, I do reflexology to myself. I do acupressure to myself. I do crystal acupuncture and all the many other derivatives that I've come up with around crystal acupuncture, with pterogram therapy, Trinity Stone therapy, which is to erase fear, pain, anger, and guilt related to sound. And we're using triangles for that. I have to get them made specially. And then we have various ways of doing therapy, such as Reiki, massage. All the time that we're looking through psychoderma therapy, which means you learn how to translate what you feel in the body with what's going on inside the body. You also learn how to use your visualizations of anatomy and physiology, basic stuff, to understand where all your major organs are in your body and how your nervous system works and how you can get hypo or hyperglycemic and how you can get into an imbalance in the glandular system long before you become very ill. So we look at all these kinds of things when we're doing metaphysiotherapy, and we use the therapies that are right for every individual. So where one person might not want reflexology because their feet hurt, we might be able to do it on the hands, or instead we might go to acupressure somewhere around the ankles or the wrists and so on. So wherever the pain is, we're working on it. We're looking at your fear, pain, anger, and guilt. Yes, all the stuff that you learned from your family, friends, associates, people at work, people on the bus, it goes on and on. I'd like you to think for a minute just how many thousands and thousands of people you've met throughout your life, many of whom you maybe never gave a second thought, but actually you took on some of their pain, some of their fear, and so on by identifying with them for a second, by allowing your auras to mix. So part of metaphysiotherapy is to also learn how to close down your energy so that you don't get zapped by psychic vampires. I always say that word, vampires, or somebody who's just hanging on. Oh, I need this and I need that. Whiny people. People are afraid that they'll never survive if they're on their own and so on. So in a way, I'm talking to you out there if you're like that, because we need to get you to not be afraid of living your life. There are people who are afraid of responsibility and they feel like Atlas holding the world up. Then there are people who feel that they have to struggle and strive and fight for every inch of the way of their life to remain around and let themselves do whatever it is they want to do. And they become control freaks. And a lot of pain manifests with that. Then we have people who are petrified, just get stiff, of every sound, every little thing that happens around them, and they don't know why, but it goes back to the infancy. It goes back to things that happened, sudden sounds, noises. Mums may do their very best and really love their baby, but you can't be in the brain of your child, and you don't know how your child is turning 2 and 2 into 96 instead of 4. Their equations between what they think, what they feel, and what they do, with the brain working, of course, sorts them out to have a personality and a character. So then with metaphysiotherapy, we have to think about how does this person think? And how do they process? So an intake is very important where we find out their lifestyle, all the things that they've been doing, their accidents, their surgeries, they're having their teeth removed, tonsillectomy. These are things that happen as a child, losing teeth, your first set of teeth, having an appendectomy, just to start with simple surgery. And then, of course, we get serious stuff like having a hip replaced. All these things are trauma to the brain, and the brain stores the memory on a cellular level within the muscles and the nervous system of your body. So as a healer, we have to find the right therapy and give the right type of counseling. So part of developing metaphysiotherapy is to also be able to tap into the spirit, the passion, the nature of a person, and understand them in such a way that you can counsel them to see the little points that are in their way that they don't see themselves. Sometimes those little points are so micro that you think, well, that wouldn't really be important, but it's a catalyst. It's like taking out the bottom block of a building of blocks, and they all come tumbling down, crashing down. Yeah, we're going to have emotional breakdown. We're going to have a mental whole process of what the hell's happening to me. But then there comes the counseling, and there comes the channeling. Yes. So students have to be psychic. We have to teach them and train them not to just do like tarot readings or how to look into a crystal ball, but rather, more importantly, to say how the issues that are coming down with a person have formed and why they're formed and what they're learning and how it can be sorted out in a way that is emotionally, mentally, and physically comfortable for a person to make a change, to adapt their point of view, and to see the world differently. So here we work with channeled counselling that comes from spirit guides, mine or someone else's. And then we also work with realism, psychology, psychiatry. A lot of people come to me that have behavioral issues. And so we have to be able to understand why they're addicted or why they're repeating patterns. I had a person who had Tourette syndrome and was really moving. They move and they touch and they have to be constantly switching and doing something. And with one therapy, that person was able to go home and sleep like a babe for the first time in many years in the arms of their wife. Okay. Unfortunately, it was so advanced that I couldn't save them from passing over a year later. But we brought in a lot of calmness and peace to that person. I've had people come to me who've had lumps on their breasts, and we've done the work, and by the time they've gone for their follow-up, they can't or to do the surgery. The lump's not there. It's gone. Why? Because we can also learn to do psychic surgery. Psychic surgery is not taking the body, opening it up, pulling out a piece of skin or something. It's much better than that. What we can do is, with our own energy and the oneness energy, we can break down the cellular level. We can turn it from solid to liquid to gas. And then we can pass the negative parts that we don't need in the body out through the pores or through the mouth, through any orifice, and through the natural way of elimination, bowels, pee. Okay, so we work with transforming, changing the shapes of the way things are in a body. Now, in terms of what are we going to use, we might want to massage someone, then we're going to do aromatherapy. And if we do aromatherapy, then we mix up a special formula, an oil that is right just for that one patient, for the situation that they're dealing with, for their mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual harmony, to bring the cellular neuromuscular memory into a space of peace where the chakras can be rebalanced and the energy of the 5 bodies that make up the aura can be harmonized. Now that's a whole topic on its own, but yes, my metaphysiotherapists level 1 have to learn all these things. And then we move on to level 2. In level 2, we go into anatomy, physiology, how to treat things like hypoglycemia and hyperglycemia. We look at the kidneys, we look at the adrenal glands. In fact, we look at all the glands, including the master gland in the brain, and we learn how the brain works. Yes, I do know how the brain works, and I have to teach my students how their brain works and where the acupoints are in order to help someone, for example, has something serious like I have, Parkinson's disease or muscular dystrophy or MS, and so on. We even have ways to help stimulate the sexual aspect of individuals, because there are a lot of people who don't know how to express themselves in passion, whether it be to give a little talk and speak to a computer like me right now, or whether to stand up in front of a crowd and do a little bit of flirting and dancing and not feel insecure and unstable, to people who have serious mental illnesses such as schizophrenia, paranoia, and other misdiagnosed things. I've had so many people being mentally diagnosed as something and put on drugs, And when I've started to look at them and look at the way their brain works, I begin to realize that maybe they're a passive aggressive mixed up with ADD, and so they're untidy, and yet they're bossy and asking everyone to do things the way they want. And we've got other people that are very frightened of their parents and the strict rules and regulations, and so they develop a conflict between one mother to father and how they're going to integrate with these two people and find themselves in withdrawal. And everything that they think they're going to do is going to be criticized. So they're paranoid, they're waiting for someone to tell them they're not good enough. Then we have bullying at school and work and other places, of course, wars even. And we have post-traumatic stress disorder, and the brain is running around at 600 billion miles an hour, and the poor body is totally zapped. Okay, so on level 2, we're looking at more hypnosis, how to not just put someone into a light hypnosis that they learn in level 1 that gives us suggestions such as you can be happy and peaceful now, but we go more into giving hypnosis that's going to really give peace of mind. And by the way, people from all over the world write to me and ask me to make their own personal hypnosis because they can't get to be with me physically. And I do offer that, and I do offer that you can have your own personal aromatherapy oil mixed up too by me. And of course, in your own country, you can find a therapist that's going to work with that oil. Or if you can't afford that, you can actually put it in the bath water and soak in it and let it splash all over you and go to sleep, and it will be absorbed into the skin through the pores and through the smell and work on you while you're sleeping. And you can do that till the bottle's finished. The bottle is an ounce. Yeah. So we learn to mix aromatherapy and reflexology in a much deeper way, learning how to work the lymphatic system, how to focus on the glandular system, to bring a sense of peace and tranquility into a person's life with the hypnosis. And with improvement on psychodermatherapy, we really go into real true therapy work. We integrate many of the different therapies. And of course, that's all very relative to people that you're working on, because 1 week it might be pterogram therapy, and when the people come back the following week you might want to use my Trinity Stone therapy, and the following week you might want to do some reflexology with some counselling, but really being honest, there's always got to be some counselling somewhere, because every therapy, everything you do has to make your client, or if you're a doctor like me, a patient, satisfied that when they walk out of that door, they feel healed. And by the way, I always tell everyone I teach, even if you've spent 3 hours or 4 hours with someone, if they say they are not happy, they go home and they don't pay you. Why? Because it's important to understand that metaphysiotherapy really works. And when they come, they don't know this yet. It's new to them. It's new that someone is mixing a multitude of therapies, counseling, psychology, psychiatry, hypnosis, um, medical intuition, psychic development, all these things, channeling, are all mixed together for them. It's kind of weird because they don't understand that so much can be done by one human being for another one. So there may be trust issues. So we want to let them know that it's not going to burn a hole in their pocket. We want to let them know that they're safe. So I often suggest an intake for free. In other words, they can come, sit with me, talk with me about all their issues and all their problems, and then I will tell them exactly what I can do to help them. And their choice, of course, is whether they want to work with me or not. Now, when we go on to Metaphysiotherapy 3, what we're actually learning now is to deal with more serious things. So the anatomy becomes more intense. We're talking about dealing with the whole person. We're talking about surgery, post-op, pre-op, whatever is going on with a person. We're talking about deeper senses of being able to use other people's therapies like Ericksonian, just for example. We might go into some of the more famous psychologists of history. Not that we want to really study it, but we'll mention it and give a general background so that the students know something about how psychology and psychiatry has evolved through the years and how most people who were mentally disturbed in some way were locked away in mental asylums and what happened to them. This kind of background needs to be understood. And to me today, applying people with loads of drugs made in pharmaceutical laboratories and then pumped out as the pill of the century that is going to in some way heal a person or take them out of pain or do something ultimately is a destructive force. It's not natural. It's not what the body gave each individual in life to start out with. So in level 3, we also talk about the natural therapies, medications, herbs, and things like that, that a person can suggest. Now, bearing in mind, we're not medical doctors. We have to say it is a suggestion, and it is the choice of an individual whether they want to try alternative medicine, which includes homeopathy and herbal tea remedies and lotions and potions that can be put on and so on. So I always suggest that even though I'm opening the door in awareness to this, I'm saying to the client, please find a nutritionist who's up to date on all the products so that you get the best and the right one. And work with your therapist in your locale as much as you can. Level 4 is more about preparing to be a teacher. So on this level, we focus on being able to stand up in front of people and talk about metaphysiotherapists without going into detail all the way through 3 of the levels so far. Students have been taught about promotion, protection of self, insurance. They're also taught about how to do business, how to promote self, how to make flyers or do a website, and so on. So there's a slow growth in promotion for the students. Well, on 4, we start to talk about you can teach your courses, you can tell people what you know, you can go to different organizations and talk about how metaphysiotherapy is a way of being healed and helped a great deal. And hear those words, a great deal. We're not allowed to say that things cure, but we all know in our hearts when 2 or 3 are gathered together, the miracle can happen. And the miracle is a unity of mind, body, and spirit in harmony with the mind, body, and spirit of the healer, in mind, body, and spirit in harmony with what we call God, the oneness. So religion and philosophy is also approached here on level 4 because every therapist needs to understand how to talk to a Buddhist if they walk in the door, or how to talk to a Methodist, or how to talk to a gospel singer. Whatever it is, we've got to be in the mode of channeling to be able to give the input to a person that allows them to take information from the healer, the medium. So yes, we're talking about medium qualities here. And yes, I do have psychic development courses as well that most of my students want to take till they get to the point that they are a trance medium. But that is a choice. Not everybody wants to be a trance medium. Some people just want to be a channeler. and they learn how to use their life's experience to help another person. And in the process, how to teach people to do all the things that they've done. And level 5, they have to write case note histories, by the way, in level 4 and level 3. So in level 5, they have to write their thesis for us. We want to see what their plan is and how they're going to teach people in the world to understand that there is alternative ways to heal self. And of course, by then, they've got their diploma. All these courses are covered under the American style UCC, Universal Christ Church, which is separate from politics and is separate from the AMS, the American Metaphysical Society. The American Medical Society. What we want to do is establish the American Metaphysical Society. So we want an AMA, American Medical Association. We want an American Medical Society who rolls over into the American Metaphysical. I'm getting myself confused because it's so easy and so similar, but I'm sure you get the idea. AMA, AMS for the medical people, and then AMS for the American Metaphysical or Metaphysiotherapist Society. Okay, so they're so similar. It's like we have to put something else in, and I'm open to ideas, and I'm open to other therapists who want to join me on this quest. I fully realize there are a lot of people who've done training such as becoming a Reiki master, or they become acupuncturists with needles, or they've done nutrition and so on. I'm inviting those people to come into this program, bring their certificates, bring their diplomas. Yes, we want more teachers. I'm only one person, I can't be in 1,000 places at once. So I want to train people who have already got training, and we do honor and respect the training you've had. But we will test you because we want to find out just how much you've done, because I have to be honest with you and say there are people out there practicing who've only done like a weekend workshop, and they're saying I'm fully qualified, and I'm afraid I may not see that as such. So we do have little tests. But if you're in earnest and you really want to study and become a metaphysiotherapist, then I would love for you to contact us through Sumari's Education Center or through Sumari's Center. You'll find the numbers there that you can call if you want to telephone me. You can Skype me, Dr. Margaret RVC. And I have to say that depending on where I am and what I'm doing, whether I'm teaching, I don't always answer that, but I do get back to you. So now you know that metaphysiotherapy works. Okay, now let me give you a few little stories just to wind up. There was a person years ago when I was young that I was working on the brain, and I knew that they had muscular dystrophy, and whisper it in my head in the early days working with crystal work and hypnosis, long before hypnosis was ever accepted in the world as a therapy. I got that he was a young man, he was 19, I got him to have a completely normal left side. He could hop on it, he could do anything he wanted. When it got to the right side, I said, okay, we're going to now work on your right side. He started to make excuses, told his mum he felt sick, didn't want to come over. And I'm like, why? He's got one side of his body completely normal. We need to work on the other side. And then came the psychology. Then came the understanding of self-talk. And of course, I began to realize that if he got both sides of his body healed, he would now have to be independent. He would have to go out in the world, and he would have to stand on his own 2 feet, and that was too much for him. He wanted to be a baby still. He wanted to be taking care of my mummy. So he stopped the therapy. Well, I was sad about that, of course, but I learned because he stopped. And I do know that unfortunately he let the left side deteriorate too, so we lost him after a few years. But that was the journey that he'd chosen to take. And so there are people, the big fish, if you like, that got away. There are people who are so full of negativity and so used to their self talk and dialogue that they'll come to you and say they want to have the miracle healing, they want the natural therapy, but they don't follow through. They don't listen to the hypnosis tapes that are made specially for them. They don't use the oils. They don't come back on time for the different therapies that are set up for them. They make excuses and so on. So I'm speaking to you out there that's like that. It's time. This is the change. I'm saying to you, are you ready to let yourself transform that self-talk and not tell yourself nothing can be done and it's the end of the rope and you have to suffer, babe, suffer, okay? And that it's so-and-so's fault and somebody else's fault back when, and so on and so forth. And keep thinking those thoughts and telling yourself nothing's ever going to change, nothing's going to get better, okay? Time for me to finish. Been talking for 31 minutes. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I love questions. I love follow-ups. So if you're listening to this and you want to be a metaphysiotherapist or you want help, contact me. Okay? Bye.